Imagine this. I'm in an ambulance, bleeding internally, about to undergo emergency surgery, and my own parents respond to my desperate plea for help with a text message that reads, "You're a nuisance and a burden. We have Taylor Swift tickets with Vanessa tonight." That text wasn't just a betrayal. It was the spark that ignited an all-out family war. My name is Myra Whitmore. I'm 34, a cardiology resident, and a single mom to amazing 3-year-old twins, Lily and Lucas. Just a couple of months ago, I was lying in an emergency room, blood loss making the world swim, after a car accident that nearly took everything from me. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely dial my parents' number. I just needed anyone, to watch Lily and Lucas for a few hours while doctors tried to literally save my life. What I got back? A text in our family group chat. It said, and I quote, "You've always been a nuisance and a burden. We have Taylor Swift tickets with Vanessa tonight. Figure it out yourself." My own mother. My own father, adding, "You're a doctor. Don't make this into a bigger deal than it needs to be." And then my sister Vanessa, a laughing emoji. A laughing emoji. While I was bleeding out. That was it. Right there, in that moment, something inside me just snapped. From my hospital bed, still IVs in my arm, I called an emergency nanny service. Paid triple the rate, didn't even care. Then I made a decision that changed everything. I cut them off. Completely. Every single monthly mortgage payment, the health insurance, the car repairs, everything I'd been quietly bankrolling for the past 8 years? Gone. Just gone. 2 weeks later, the world decided to throw another curveball, and there was a knock on my door. Growing up in my parents' house, love wasn't a given. It was a ranking system. And I was always firmly at the bottom. My older sister, Vanessa, was the golden child. 3 years my senior, stunning, charismatic. She just lit up their faces. When she wanted to go into fashion, Mom cried happy tears. Dad called her a visionary. Me? I wanted to be a doctor. Dad just nodded. That's practical. Practical. That word haunted me. I tried to convince myself it didn't matter. I buried myself in textbooks, clawed my way into a top medical school. 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of med school, 3 years of brutal residency in cardiology. The day I finally graduated med school, a day that should have been monumental, they arrived 2 hours late. "Sorry, sweetheart," Mom mumbled, not even meeting my eyes. Vanessa had an emergency investor meeting. No flowers, no celebration. Just a quick parking lot photo before they rushed off to be Vanessa's emotional support team. 3 years earlier, for Vanessa's first fashion show, the entire family flew to New York, 5-star hotel, front row seats. Dad posted 17 photos on Facebook, bragging about our talented girl. I got a lukewarm "congrats, honey," and a parking lot shot. I rationalized it, of course. Fashion is competitive. Vanessa needs more support. Medicine is stable. I can handle things. But I was naive. Their favoritism wasn't just emotional, it was financial. And I was the one footing the bill. It started 8 years ago, right after med school. Dad called, his voice tight with manufactured embarrassment. "Myra, we're in a bit of a bind. Mortgage is due. Things are tight." "Just this once," he swore. That night, I transferred $2,400. Without a second thought. They were my parents. Of course I'd help. But just this once became every month. The mortgage, then health insurance, $800 a month when Dad's company dropped coverage. Then the emergencies, car repairs, a leaking roof, a new furnace. I never said no. Never once. When I got pregnant with the twins and their father walked out when I was 5 months along, I called my parents from the hospital after a terrifying bleeding episode. I was absolutely terrified, alone, desperate for any support. "Oh, honey, we wish we could come," Mom said, "but Vanessa is so stressed after her show in Milan. She really needs us right now." They didn't come. Not for the birth. Not for that first brutal month when I was barely sleeping, nursing 2 newborns while studying for my board exams. But the automatic transfers? Oh, those kept going out. $2,400 for the mortgage, $800 for insurance, whatever else they needed. I even kept a spreadsheet. I don't know why. Maybe a part of me needed to see it, stark and clear, in black and white. The numbers were staggering. Over 8 years? $320,000, give or take. I never asked for gratitude. I never expected a parade. But I also never, ever, expected to be called a burden by the people I'd been carrying for nearly a decade. That reckoning? It was coming. I just didn't know how or when. It was a Tuesday evening. I was driving home, utterly exhausted after a 16-hour shift. My eyelids felt heavy, but I was alert. The light turned green. I pulled into the intersection and then nothing. I never saw the truck. It ran the red light doing 50, slamming into my driver's side. Glass exploded. Metal shrieked. The world spun, then dissolved into black. I woke up in an ambulance, a searing pain tearing through my abdomen. A familiar face, Marcus Smith, an emergency physician from my hospital, was hovering over me. Myra? Myra, can you hear me?
My voice was a weak rasp.
Marcus, what's happening? You were in an accident. Possible internal bleeding. You're going to need surgery.
Surgery.
The word hit me like a second collision. My kids. Lily and Lucas. I gasped, grabbing his arm. They're with the babysitter. She leaves at 8. Marcus checked his watch. 7:15 p.m. 45 minutes. I had 45 minutes to find someone to watch my children while doctors cut me open. I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking so badly I smeared blood across the screen. I pulled up my parents' number. It rang 4 times. Myra? Dad's voice, impatient. We're about to leave. What is it? Dad, I pleaded, gasping through the pain. I was in an accident. I'm going to the hospital.
Surgery.
Please, I need you and Mom to watch the twins. Just for a few hours. Silence. Then muffled voices. My mother's tone, sharp and annoyed. Vanessa's laugh, bright and carefree, in the background. The line went quiet. A second later, my phone buzzed. A text in the family group chat. My mother. Myra, you've always been a nuisance and a burden. We have Taylor Swift tickets with Vanessa tonight. We've been planning this for months. Figure it out yourself. I read it twice. 3 times. The words didn't change. Then, Dad chimed in. You're a doctor. You're used to hospitals. Don't make this into a bigger deal than it needs to be. And Vanessa? Just a laughing emoji. That was it. That's all I was worth to them. A laughing emoji, while I lay bleeding, possibly dying, in an ambulance. Marcus was watching me. I hadn't realized he could see my screen. Myra? His voice was so gentle. What did they say? I couldn't answer. Something inside me had finally, irrevocably, shattered. And it wasn't just the internal bleeding. I need a phone, I whispered, with internet. Mine's dying. He handed me his without a word. I Googled emergency nanny services, found a 24-hour one and called. I explained the situation in clipped, professional sentences. Yes, triple the rate. Yes, I'd provide the sitter's contact. Yes, I authorized payment immediately. It was done in 4 minutes. Marcus was still watching when I handed back his phone. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. Can you screenshot those messages? I asked, pointing to my dying phone. Before it dies? He nodded slowly.
Yeah.
I can do that. I closed my eyes as the ambulance pulled into the hospital bay. The physical pain was overwhelming now, yes, but it paled in comparison to the agony in my heart. From that hospital bed, hooked up to and for, fear and fury coursing through me, I made the easiest decision of my life. The surgery lasted 4 hours. Ruptured spleen, internal bleeding. Another few minutes and I might not have made it. I spent 5 days in the hospital. 5 days of 4 drips, a morphine haze, and nurses checking my vitals every few hours. Not one call from my parents. Not one text. Not one visit. The emergency nanny service, though expensive, was worth every single penny. They coordinated with my regular sitter, kept Lily and Lucas safe, fed, and even sent me daily photo updates. Strangers. Strangers took better care of my children than my own family. On day 3, I asked the nurse for my laptop. "Are you sure you're up for it?" she asked, concerned. "You should be resting." "I need to take care of something," I replied, my voice firm. My hands, surprisingly, were steady as I logged into my banking app. 8 years of automatic transfers stared back at me, regular as clockwork. $2,400 on the 1st, $800 on the 15th. I canceled them all. Every single one. Then I went into my phone settings and blocked them. My father's number, my mother's, Vanessa's. There was no dramatic flourish, no tears, no second-guessing. It just felt like setting down an impossibly heavy weight I'd been carrying for so long. I'd forgotten it was there. Marcus stopped by that afternoon, as he had every day, bringing coffee and quiet company. "How are you feeling?" he asked. I looked up at him, and for the first time in years, I told the absolute truth. Better. For the first time in 8 years, I actually feel better. He didn't push for details. He just nodded like he understood. I knew the fallout was coming. My parents would notice the missing money. They'd rage, cry, demand explanations. But I had no idea what was really coming. 2 weeks after surgery, I was finally home, moving slow, still sore but alive. It was a peaceful Saturday morning. The kitchen smelled of butter and maple syrup as I made pancakes for Lily and Lucas, their favorite weekend treat. Lucas was meticulously stacking toy blocks, Lily helping by knocking them down. Then came the knock. 3 sharp, insistent raps on my front door. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, my heart instantly spiking. If it was my parents, I wasn't ready. I didn't know if I'd ever be ready. I peered through the peephole, and my breath hitched. Standing there was a tall man in his 70s, silver hair neatly combed, those sharp blue eyes I remembered from childhood. His posture still carried the gravitas of 40 years on the federal bench. Grandpa Thomas. I hadn't seen him in almost 3 years. My parents always had an excuse. Too busy, too far, too inconvenient. I slowly opened the door. He pulled me into a hug, so tight it made my surgical incision ache. "Myra." His voice was rough with emotion. "Let me look at you." He pulled back, his eyes scanning my face, then dropping to where my hand instinctively rested over my still-healing abdomen. "I know everything," he said, quietly, but with an underlying steel. "Eleanor told me." Aunt Eleanor, my mother's younger sister, was the only one in the family who'd ever dared to question my parents' behavior. "Grandpa, I don't." He held up a hand. "You don't need to explain anything. But I do need you to come somewhere with me." He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope, cream-colored, elegant, formal. An invitation. My 70th birthday party next Saturday. The whole family will be there. His eyes met mine, unwavering. "And I have some things that need to be said." Grandpa Thomas sat at my kitchen table, a soft smile gracing his lips as he watched Lily and Lucas. They'd instantly gravitated to him, showing off their toys, demanding his full attention. And he gave it freely. "They look just like you did at that age," he murmured. Same stubborn chin. I placed 2 mugs of coffee on the table and took the seat opposite him. "Grandpa," I began, "how did you find out about the accident?" "About everything?" He wrapped his hands around the warm mug. "Eleanor called me the night it happened. She heard through one of your cousins. When she told me what your parents did," his jaw tightened. "I've watched this for years, Myra. The way Helen and Richard treat you versus Vanessa. I'm old, but I'm not blind." I stared at my coffee, my heart aching. "I thought maybe I was imagining it," I admitted, making it bigger than it was. "You weren't," he said, his voice carrying the immense weight of decades spent separating truth from lies. "I was a federal judge for 40 years. I know how to read people. I know what favoritism looks like. And I know what exploitation looks like." He leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "Tell me something. Do you still have records of the money you've sent them?" I nodded slowly. "Every transfer. 8 years. "Good." He sat back, a flicker of something almost predatory in his eyes. "I want you to put together a summary. Every payment, every date, every amount. Why? I whispered. Because at my birthday party, in front of the entire family, I intend for the truth to come out. His eyes were pure steel. Not as an attack. Not as revenge. Simply as facts. And facts, as I learned in 40 years on the bench, have a way of speaking for themselves. My hands trembled around my mug. What if they hate me? The ones who matter won't. He reached across and squeezed my hand, a gesture of profound comfort. And the ones who do never deserved you anyway. The next 2 weeks were a blur of preparation. I printed every single bank statement, every transfer confirmation. 8 years of financial records, meticulously organized, bound in a plain manila folder. Seeing it all laid out, month after month, year after year, a relentless river of money flowing in one direction, it was staggering. Aunt Eleanor came over 3 days before the party. She's 55, sharp-tongued, and always been the family's black sheep for refusing to pretend everything was fine. She flipped through the folder, her expression darkening with each page. $360,000, she stated flatly. Myra, do you understand what this is? I know. This is more than most people make in 7 years of full-time work. She put the folder down. And they called you a burden. I pressed my palms against the kitchen counter, a knot of anxiety twisting in my gut. I don't want to destroy the family, Aunt Eleanor. I just want them to see, to acknowledge what I've done. You're not destroying anything. She stood and put a firm hand on my shoulder. You're just stopping the lie. They built their comfortable life on your silence. You're not obligated to keep giving them that. I nodded, but my stomach still churned. What if everyone takes their side? Some might. Family is complicated, she shrugged. But your grandfather has a lot of influence. And more importantly, you have the truth.